morning everyone, I'm Shraddha Narayanan and I welcome you to SYNERGIZE Conclave. As any event, it would not be possible without the support of our sponsors. I would like to thank our sponsors Greenco and SCCM.
Green financing is, in a very simple terminology, understood as any structured financial activity that is taken up to promote sustainable environment. Shri Rajeshkrishnan Garu, who is Principal Secretary IT and Information Technology Government of Telangana, also Board Advisor of United Way Hyderabad. Joining him will be Prashant Prakash ji, Partner Axel Partners. He is also Board Member of United Way of Bengaluru.
And it's an absolute honor and pleasure to have this fireside chat with Jayesh Garu. Just to kick it off, Jayesh, I think at a macro level, this whole financing thing is a humongous task for the country. We are talking about 10 trillion between now and 2017, right? And just to give you a thing of where we are currently getting in about $1 to $2 billion a month, right? So even if you think of it as $20-30 billion a year, we still have a long way to go. And if we have to bring in momentum into this whole decarbonization and into this, enable both entrepreneurship, innovation, and corporates to move in this direction, I think we have a long way to go. So maybe we'll first, I wanted to maybe first chat about who are the players in this. Where is capital coming from? Right. So maybe you can. So for example, you have banks, you have NBFCs, you have multilateral organizations. Maybe just you can say what are some of the sources of capital and who are the players?
So, morning everyone. Morning, Prashant Garu. Great to interact with you and share this platform. So you mentioned that it's a humongous challenge, and you mentioned 2070, but it is an even bigger challenge for entities who want to advance their net zero target. So 2070, I'm sure all of you know, the reference is made because our national government has committed that net zero for India will be achieved by 2070. I would also like to share something. In fact, we all saw the video of Singareni Colliery. So coal sector, as you know, they are one of the biggest emitters of carbon. And it's also ironical that a sustainability summit is being sponsored by a coal company.
There's also this diversification of supply chains, right?
True.
Which will bring this back.
Exactly. Now, what we have done is to capitalize upon this. We are setting up a humongous greenfield industrial park dedicated to the pharma sector, which is called the Hyderabad Pharma City. It is going to be spread over 20,000 acres. Nowhere else in the world is such a large industrial park in one place.
And I will just summarize by saying that there is a lot of momentum that is building on green financing. Whether it is, I know we didn't talk a lot about green bonds, we didn't talk about the NBFCs, the carbon market, and the whole VC industry today, just in the last 5 years has shifted. The total investments in green companies was 1 billion, it's about 40 billion now globally. And also there is ESG specific mutual funds which have been approved by SEBI. So I think we are just at the early tip of this iceberg, but I think good momentum, just like we had this big moment for financial inclusion, where we had this big shift. I'm hoping that a very similar moment we are when it comes to green financing. Thank you.
Thank you so much, speakers, for the engaging conversation. May I request Amla Garu to please honor the speakers with mementos. I would like to invite the panelists for this discussion, please. The moderator for this panel is Dr. Bhaskar Chatterjee, CEO, Anil Agarwal Foundation, Vedanta Group. Ms. Larson served as the Principal Officer in Benghazi, Libya, and then as Acting Deputy Chief of Mission in Tripoli. She has also served in Pakistan, France, Sudan, Jerusalem, and Lebanon. Our next panelist is Mr. Rajeshkrishnan, the CEO of United Way of Bengaluru. He is a qualified engineer, a first rank holder from Karnataka University. He also holds a gold medal in Diploma in Marketing Management. After a long stint in the corporate sector, he transitioned to the social sector as a volunteer and has risen in its rank as a leader. He has helped the organization transition to an unstoppable growth path. He has been recognized with the CSR Leader 2022 by ET Accent, Dr. R.L. Bhatia, and World CSR Congress, as well as the Best NGO Leadership Award 2023 at the 7th Corporate Social Responsibility Summit. A warm round of applause for Mr. Rajeshkrishnan. Our final panelist today is Professor Parul Rishi. Professor Parul Rishi is an academician in the discipline of psychology related to environment, climate change, and sustainability domain. For the last 30 years in Indian Institute of Forest Management under the Ministry of Environment, Forests and Climate Change, Government of India. A warm round of applause to all our panelists, please. Dr. Bhaskar, I request you to take the discussion forward.
Thank you very much and a very good morning to all distinguished delegates. Today in this particular session, we're going to talk about collaborations. We're trying to focus on how we can cooperate, collaborate, understand each other, and bring out a plan of action that helps us to translate policy and perspective into actionables on the ground. When I look around the environmental sustainability landscape, what are the three principal challenges that I look at? One part is awareness. The second problem is finance, which was addressed in the session just before this. And I think the third, very important thing for also to realize is despite all this talk by corporates in particular, big talk by big corporates, please do not naively believe. The kind of greenwash that is happening is unbelievable. The number of times that the rainforests of Brazil has been used by carbon sinks, by tons of corporates because of lack of monitoring is a case in point. So I just wanted to raise these three very important issues as a backdrop to what we're about to discuss. And to say that partnerships is one way of trying to solve these three massive problems in front of us. It's not the solution, but it is one of the solutions and a very prominent part of the solutions that we need at hand.
Thank you very much, and thank you for setting the stage for this conversation, this very important conversation. And again, thank you to United Way for putting this together. So what I work in, of course, is trying to do consensus building and trying to build partnerships. And I would say, though, just to sort of frame the discussion in the United States, that we have no agreement ourselves. And when you're talking about awareness or, and you said ignorance, we're a country divided ourselves. It is very, very difficult to make informed, impactful decisions at a federal level without a lot of discussion and debate. And that's taking place currently right now, our spending bills in Washington. But I'd like to just maybe talk more about what we're trying to do here on a local level in India with the United States and our cooperation here. I think, India and the US are two of the world's three largest emitters of greenhouse gases, and we have a critical role to play together in mitigating climate change.
To our target. Thank you. Rajesh, I've had occasion to interact with you before. I know you're one of the most knowledgeable and active people in the ESG domain. Lovely to have you with us on this panel. When we talk of collaborations, I can very quickly classify them into three types. One, and we had this mentioned in the morning today, is about government and the private sector, which we popularly call PPPs, public-private partnerships. A second is corporate-to-corporate partnerships. It is rare, but there are many good examples of how corporates reach out to other corporates, where their interests do not overlap or hurt each other. And the third is the cooperation between, which of course the CSR fold particularly encourages, is the one between corporates and civil society. How do you think this can go forward? What might be the challenges that you see, and how can we look for a solution to them?
Specific to this point, Dr. Bhaskar, unfortunately I'm going to dip into my wisdom and experience, because clearly I'm not carrying any notes. One of the things which I have been observing is, of late in the conversations at the sea level, and I get to participate in some of them, given the fact that United Way acts also as an aggregator besides being an implementing partner. There is always this notion of trying to have this ESG and CSR going together, where you look at all these environmental issues and kind of make sure that, I'm not sure if greenwashing would be the word, but then try to see that if you can do it within the 2% of it. Now, I think these are two different things which needs to be clearly segregated. The other important aspect is what we have seen that can be achieved in this particular CSR space. I mean, I must here compliment you for the farsightedness, because it is definitely made a lot of changes. Is a significant portion of trying to demonstrate that as the civil society members, I would probably include us as part of that, is that a significant amount of changes can actually be implemented on ground even with a small quantum of this. And 2% here, the latest data was telling me something about 23,000 crores in the last so many years, whereas the state budget of Government of Karnataka for education for 1 year is 38,000 crores. But probably the number of plantations, if I have to say, which this particular group would have undertaken would probably beat everybody else hands down. The other interesting conversations, and I happened to be in one of them where I think it was BlackRock, I'm not very sure, was they telling that, okay, let's go and buy this carbon credits, probably alluding to the abuse of the rainforest. I think those are not the answers. And this is where I'm very, very happy that the United Way Hyderabad team chose to have Parul on this panel, bringing out this particular key aspect of behavioral sciences. I think that is extremely very, very important. Now, and the other aspect which was also brought out was catch them young. I think it's very important that we as responsible members of the civil society, besides wearing multiple hats which we wear, also need to spend a lot of time and effort in making sure that this is built across in the ecosystem, starting from the schools and colleges, because children can be great influences in bringing this change. And it's extremely important that this happens.
Thank you, Rajesh, for giving us that perspective. Real worthwhile funding can be found. How do you see that partnership going?
And that was in comparison between the CSR ecosystem and the VC ecosystem. Okay? Now, one of the fundamental challenges which I see is, and which is very encouraging to see, is in the VC ecosystem there is a spirit to accept failures. There is a cost associated, but that investment is still considered a worthwhile investment. Now, in the CSR space, as the way it is being designed, is there is no scope for failure. Any project which is signed up with any corporate has a clearly laid out roadmap. Now, when I say this, it is not about comparing both the ecosystems. It is not about that. It is just to kind of bring about the fact that this is how this CSR ecosystem works. Without anything at all, 2014 prior, post this, I think this is a significant positive step. But what would be very nice is, if this particular thing can also be opened up, or a bit of flexibility offered, you know what, NGOs or aggregators like us, United Ways, we probably would be more welcoming to look at those particular, proposals as well. And trust me, we, I think as a team, definitely would have the competency and can also bring in the others to make sure that we are able to support such systems also. The fundamental thing would be the risk appetite, and that is right now not being permissible from a systemic perspective.
Very well put, Rajesh. I do see that as something that, one is not foreseen when you make that kind of policy, but yes, there has to be a tolerance for, and in fact the learnings really come, the hard learnings come from failure. I take this opportunity to thank United Way for putting us all together, and for all my very distinguished panelists for expressing